you have imposter syndrome. And I look back on those times in my life and they created so much angst for me. They created so much stress, so much anxiety. I didn't know if this is what I wanted to do. Why do we look back fondly on these hard times, on these challenging times, on these times where we didn't have everything that we wanted? Asking myself that question, a lot of times it's because these struggles are anchored by our passions, by our goals, and by us following our dreams. And I think that we we are chasing something that means so much to us, that brings on these struggles, that creates these hardships in our lives. And I think that if we weren't, we probably would just walk away from them. But we decide to continue on, to trudge through the shit and to surmount those mountains so that we have something better. And I think that these struggles are often rooted in us following a passion or us following a dream. And so when we come to the other side of that, or even if we don't, even if we just learn lessons from that, I think that that's why it's so important to us. And that's why in hindsight, it's so satisfying to look back on those times and say, you know what? They were terrible. I didn't think I was going to come out of that. I struggled. I didn't have food. We didn't have electricity. We had nothing. We weren't sure how we were going to make our mortgage payment, but I was chasing a dream, and that's all that I had. And in hindsight, those were some of the best times of my life. Just chasing that dream and struggling and doing anything and everything within your power to make that happen, to make those dreams come to fruition, I think is really cool. And a lot of people don't experience that. Many people as business owners do, as athletes do, as people who just want to make a difference, want to be high performers. But I think a lot of people lean more towards comfort, ease, rather than chasing that passion regardless of the cost associated with it. Some examples of that, which I often say that we are the starving artists, but actual starving artists, the people who don't have anything, but they have this internal drive and this need to create something, create art, share their music, share their fine art, share whatever it may be. However that art is manifesting itself, those people chasing that dream and giving up everything else in their life just to be able to speak that language to other people. You have the athlete who's going to pick up and they're going to move to Colorado to be able to train at elevation, to be the best athlete that they can be, to meet their full potential and to train with other high level athletes. There's difficulty in that. There's difficulty in getting up and leaving everything that you're comfortable with, obviously, but then there's difficulty in the training that comes along with that, physical, mental, emotional. Those people look back on those times in their lives and they probably cherish them more than other times. The husband and wife who decide to pick their family up and move them elsewhere, even though they're established, even though they have what they need in order to create a better life or a better education for their children. All of these experiences create struggle, they create strife, there's challenges associated with them, and it's probably very difficult for them. I know that anytime I've made a massive change in my life, it's been very, very difficult, and I question the change, and I question if I'm going to come ahead, and is it all worth it? And typically at the end of the day, even if I meet my goal or I don't, it's worth it because I am so much stronger of a person. I have more life experience. I'm a more dynamic individual because of it. One example of this for me personally, which is fitting for this podcast, is when I started my business. I had just gotten done college. I was 23 years old. I had recently stopped drinking. I was looking to make some changes in my life. I knew I didn't want to go work for somebody. I didn't want to work in corporate America. And I decided that I was going to start my own business. I had no business acumen. I had no business being in business. I wasn't extremely confident in the tools, actual saws, wood, how a job came together. I had a little bit of experience not doing it right. I didn't understand the permitting. I didn't understand how to operate my business from a business perspective legally, insurances, accounting, pricing. I didn't know anything about it. And it was really hard. And I struggled. And I was stressed and I was anxious. I was at this crossroads in my life that I wanted to take a different path, and I chose a really difficult one, and I chose to be self-taught, and I didn't have the confidence to tell people that I didn't know, and I didn't have the confidence to ask for help. So I went down this road basically alone. And while I was doing that, it was extremely scary. And I wouldn't recommend that. It was extremely scary. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this. You don't have enough confidence in yourself and in your business to tell people, yeah, I don't know. You don't have enough confidence to reach out to somebody and say, hey, can you help me with this? Or, hey, I made a mistake. You have imposter syndrome. And I look back on those times in my life, and they created so much angst for me. They created so much stress, so much anxiety. I didn't know if this is what I wanted to do. But every day that I got up, every day that I put my boots on, every day that I went to the job, I gained more perspective. I gained more insight, more clarity, more confidence, and it made it a little bit easier. And the pain of the struggles faded. It went away. And those jobs that I didn't think I was going to get through, I looked at with a much lighter vantage point. It didn't seem as dire as when I was in the situation experiencing it. I made a ton of mistakes that cost me days, weeks, months of my time and money. But in hindsight, making those mistakes, determining why I made the mistake in the first place, how to fix it, and how to never make it again, were when I was the most driven in life. It was when the successes felt the most rewarding to me. I was creating an agency for myself. I was becoming an adult, and I was blazing my own trail, which at that point in my life was cutting the cord of adolescence. I was chasing my own dreams. I was making a name for myself. And while it was so painful and difficult in the moment, as soon as I got past that, it wasn't that bad. And maybe we become numb to pain the further we are removed from it. But you also have to consider that as you progress, as you learn, you look back on these times and you gain so much confidence and so much fulfillment, understanding that I was at my breaking point, and rather than giving up and rather than breaking, I put my head down and I pushed through and I crested the hill that I was looking to climb. And I think that's responsible for a lot of that easing of pain and that fading of pain more so than just being removed from it from a time capacity. Why these difficult times later feel rewarding to me is a very interesting paradox. And it's something that I know it going into projects. I know it when I'm experiencing something or when I'm struggling with something or when I'm at a pinch point, a pain point in my life. And even though I know it, I can't use that to reason my way out of it. I'm still stuck in that. And understanding that at some point I'm going to look back on this and I'll have fond memories of this, or it'll be a turning point in my life. It'll be a catalyst for a new direction, a new path for greater and bigger successes. I still can't reason my way out of it, understanding that that's typically the case. And I wonder how this can be also evident. You understand that this is going to happen while in that shitstorm, life seems so difficult and insurmountable that we're literally never going to get ahead. We're never going to survive this. I've had times when I was younger where I asked Rachel, this is so hard. Does it have to be this hard? Is it this hard for everyone? How are we going to afford children? How are we going to be able to buy cars for our kids? How are we going to be able to renovate our house? How are we going to be able to afford college? How are we going to be able to afford groceries? And it just seems when you're in those positions that you're never going to be able to get out. You're never going to dig yourself out. It just seems like if you're treading water, great. But a lot of times it feels as though you're sinking. Treading water would be progress for me at some of my lowest times where it didn't even feel as though I was treading water. It just felt that I was sinking faster than I could swim. So growth obviously helps combat this paradox, understanding who you are, where you've come from, and that this too shall pass overcoming adversity, gaining insight, perspective, building that resilience that whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship, you understand that you can come out ahead of this, that you've dealt with bigger things, that it's only a struggle right now, that you will overcome this, right? Typically, we have our health. All things short of that, we can generally push through and we can come out ahead. And I think that life experience plays a big part in that. I think that having confidence in yourself, I think that these struggles and these experiences just build numbness to the fact that you have not numbness, but you have an ability to do anything that you want. And I think that sometimes we will bite off more than we can chew due to this numbness or this ignorance, because we've been able to solve every problem that we've faced in life so far, and that's a good thing for me, right? If you don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe that you can do it, if you don't believe that any challenge that faces you you're going to be able to solve, that I think that it's going to make life very challenging, and it's probably going to create a lot of frustration, a lot of anxiety for you. I've found meaning in my life through challenges, not necessarily through comfort. I found who I'm meant to be. I've found who I have the capacity to be, and I've found what it means to dig in, muster up all the courage, all the energy, all the focus that I have to get myself out of whatever pinch I'm in. And that has been found in challenges, not in ease of life and not in comfort. If I've sat back and I've let go of the reins and just say, I'm going to go wherever I go, wherever this journey takes me, that hasn't created the best version of myself, the strongest version of myself, the most confident version of myself. It's when I've faced these things head on, when I've experienced them, when I've acknowledged them, I've spoken about them, I've held myself accountable to these things, and I've learned and I've grown and I've come out on the other side. And these challenges have created so much meaning in my life, more so than just sitting back and letting time take me where it's going to take me.